love that this student literally got home from camp and went to the religious dropout.
Love it.
So
hopefully they also went to their Baptist grandma and said, Grandma, even your swimsuit pick was not Christian enough for this camp.
And Grammy, also, you're a stripper, basically. It's Chelsea.
And I'm Brandon.
And you're listening to The Religious Dropout. Reluctantly, I'm sure.
Yes.
What's up?
What's up?
What's happening? What's up? I won't finish any more of that, but let's get some life updates.
I should start with I'm very excited because Jackie and I are expecting
a dog
to eat some cookies after this podcast because I just bought Detroit Cookie Company. Chelsea, to kick off this campy episode, you might notice this s'more cookie is about half eaten.
Trail mix. But I'm jealous.
An update for all of us that have been keeping up with our cookie race. I've driven by these things called Detroit Cookie Companies. I don't know if you've seen these before.
I feel like I've seen like an ad. So we've done Crumble and Insomnia and now Detroit Cookie Company.
The Pit Mix? Wow.
Yeah.
This is brownies, Snickers, and Ruffles potato chips. This is cherry chip.
Ooh, cherry chip.
Should be pinker, but it's not. But this boy is called Blue Moon, which is blue raspberry, fruity marshmallow heaven in a cookie.
I love that. Oh. I love marshmallow, honestly.
And this marshmallow for real. So that's my life update. We're about to dive into these.
I love it. I knew 1000% you would never drop any kind of bomb that starts with expecting anywhere near the podcast without a full ass film crew. Like that was going to be like an MTV Cribs recording type of moment because my reaction would be so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I thought you guys might be getting a dog. So I was like, oh, but then I'm like, you just moved. I was like,
yeah.
So yeah, dog, cookies, close. I want to say for my life update, I feel perplexed by Jelly Roll. I don't know who it is. I know it's a dude with a face tattoo, but I don't know anything about this guy. And I keep seeing him everywhere. Everywhere I look, I see Jelly Roll. And I just don't know what is it? What is Jelly Roll?
What is a Jelly Roll?
Right. I thought it was like the
that
gel pen.
That sounds like a Little Debbie kind of situation.
Yeah, so that's just like one of the things that's really been on my heart this week. Also in other news, this could be a whole podcast, but we'll just give an update and then we'll go right into this camp episode. We are staying campy episode or staying campy part 2 today. But the most recent life update for me is I was asked back in the winter, like the late winter, to be a speaker at this women's conference. And I was really excited about it. I started preparing for it. It was like such a blessing to me because I love speaking. I love it so much. And when it's about like bringing connection and community, right? Like I don't just love to like speak about whatever, but the intentional kind of conversations that come from being a conference speaker or a camp speaker, I loved a ton. And so I was very excited about that. And then I got a call just a couple weeks ago. I've just been kind of mulling over it and kind of like really upset before I kind of shared it with the world, right? Because of course we have people that don't like us that watch the pod. And so you don't always want to share the things that like suck in your life with people that hate you. But I got to take the good with the bad, right? And we've got a lot of like family member type of followers here too. So, but I got a call that I was no longer able to be a speaker because of my affirming views on the LGBTQ community being public. And I just want to say, because I'm excited about this episode and I don't want to, waste too much time on this. I was devastated. I cried very hard. I talked to Brandon about it right away. But I just want to say that it was a reminder to me that when we choose to chase the call that God has put on our life, we are not guaranteed ease. and we're not guaranteed comfort, and we're not guaranteed that the call is going to come with, like all kinds of glitter and fabulous things. And so I just feel like this is just part of my story, and it's worth the cost, right? Like the cost of speaking out and being authentic and vulnerable in my faith is worth losing a spot in this conference anyway, but it was really hard. So just kind of wanted to share that struggle and that sadness there.
Yeah. I haven't had to deal with anything like that. So that really sucks, Chelsea.
Yeah, but you've had a lot of very serious fallout as well. So,
Yeah.
I think we kind of just know that when we really speak out for the kingdom, it comes at a cost. And that,
Yeah.
we're, as hard as that is for both of us, we're this is where we are. So,
yeah. I know some people listening are like, hey, what conference is that? Because I low-key want to go now that they're canceling you.
They're like, that's my type of conference. I actually told one of my best friends.
They're standing up for their beliefs.
And one of my best friends went immediately to their Facebook and wrote like a 10-page review. And I'm like, take it off immediately. I'm like, you cannot do that. And she's like going on, do not go to this church. This is disgusting.
Okay, so let me know. I'll text Alicia and figure out what page that is, and then I'll go write my own review.
That was who it was. I said delete that immediately. And she's caught up on the podcast. So when she listens to this, she's gonna be like, oh great, I got an honorable mention for almost writing a church a horrible anyways.
Oh my gosh.
Let's dive in. We got a lot.
Something fun? What's your favorite camp game?
Oh gosh. Well,
you're gonna say
Guerrilla Warfare, you thought?
You were gonna say it.
No, really? No, I was gonna say, I guess I'm gonna have to say dodgeball because I coached dodgeball for that was my favorite thing. But I don't know if that was my favorite game necessarily at camp. What was yours? Oh, 9 Square.
9 Square I loved. I also loved 4 Square.
Yeah.
Which as I'm saying that sounds hilarious. But as I got older and less agile, 4 Square became less and less my game. 9 Square became my game for sure.
9 Square is the game for elderly people. And I will tell you what, right now, someone who listens to the podcast, who I love so much, I'm going to call him out right now, frickin' Liam. Liam frickin' beat me at 9 Square all the time. I'd be on a roll, and then Liam, who's half my height, right?
Weird.
Liam is funny. Boom, just dunk on him. He'd dunk on him all the time.
That's weird because Liam never beat me, so...
Okay, weird. Anyways, moving on immediately.
Yep.
Immediately. We have a story, I think, to kick it off, which it's not a recording, but she sent it in to us. And this story, oddly, we've gotten this story from several people. I probably got about 5 DMs that were just like this. So we're only going to read you one, but this situation has happened in a ridiculous amount of times. So,
yeah. So this person wrote in and said they got in trouble for wearing this super modest swimsuit that their Baptist grandma picked out because it showed the tiniest bit of stomach, literally this year at camp.
I love that this student literally got home from camp and went to the religious dropout.
Love it. So hopefully they went to us, but they also went to their Baptist grandma and said, Grandma, even your swimsuit pick was not Christian enough for this camp.
and Grammy, also you're a stripper, basically.
Yeah.
No, genuinely.
Why do you want to lead the men astray, Grandma?
You killed Grandpa.
Grandma, why are you putting me up as a stumbling block?
I'm so... Holy shit, I'm dying. It's just... So I remember when Brandon and I... And then I know I have to play this audio because I have the next story and I know we got to get through so many. But I just thought of in this moment when we were sitting at breakfast planning this podcast, which we had been planning for like a year before this, by the way. But like a year ago, we sat at this table and we're talking about the vision and whatever. And one of the things we both said was, this is going to be a podcast that parents don't want their kids listening to. Like
Yeah,
we former youth pastors turned to Satan, right? And they're like, do not listen to the religious dropouts. Yet their kids are coming home from camp immediately telling us their trauma.
I just have to say to the person that wrote this in to us,
I have a
your
picture too. They
Baptist,
sent me a picture.
that swimsuit isn't Baptist grandma approved. That is Satan approved.
That's
So you
right.
should get that out of that
Yep.
lake for sure.
You evil doer. You evil.
I don't.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I remember when I had to wear a tankini, because I couldn't wear a bikini, obviously, and I would never want to. That's not really my vibe if you know me. But
Yeah.
I also am very uncomfortable in one pieces. So the tankini was just what I had. And if you're familiar with a like 20 somethings tankini, the skin that it shows is probably this much, which is about the skin that was showing on the student's bathing suit who messaged us because she sent us a picture. But I remember the camp director at the time was like, had basically said like, but well, you can't wear that. And of course I wore it anyway, which is like most things I did that they said I couldn't. But it was
Right.
just like, I was so shocked. Like, are you really gonna tell me I can't wear this? Like, there's no way. There's no way. And they really were. I mean, like I said, of course I wore it, but the fact that they really were trying to tell me I couldn't was just mind blowing to me. It was insane. So this story is from and it's a good one. And
I
she's
believe it.
amazing, and I'm gonna play it for you.
Okay, so I hope this is okay to do a voice memo because I figured it'd just be better for you to hear what I'm saying here. So as you know, I traveled in a band in college that went to a lot of different camps, churches, retreats, whatnot. Well, this story happens to be at EMD middle school camp. Me and a couple other band members were working with the soundboard or just talking about the soundboard. I can't exactly remember. But the speaker for the week comes over to a few of us. I don't remember her name. Very nice, but she goes, hey, so I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but the lunch ladies or the ladies that worked in the kitchen had overheard you guys like having a conversation. I'm not sure what it was. And we were like, oh, that's weird. Like, we don't really know what they would have heard us saying that wasn't appropriate. Okay, sorry, I ran out of time. But one of the ladies had overheard the band members saying, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Mind you, the band members were staying in a couple lodge rooms right off of the main sanctuary area, service area, and they were also staying over there. So they took this as the band members were doing dirty things or taking some kind of drug, and we were delinquents, essentially, is what they were talking about. And that we try to force other people to do things that we don't want to do. Of course, all the band members erupted in laughter when we heard this. So here's why. Mind you, we had been going... My fellow band member actually 6 this summer. So, like, all the singing and the playing music, whatnot. I was a singer, and my voice was shot, okay? Between screaming during the camp games, doing whatnot. I was like, man, I really don't know if I can sing this song. Well, at the time, Mia had told me, well, if you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, we can have you be on a different song if you want. Which I proceeded to say yes because of the fact that my voice was tired. But yeah, we got some dirty looks from the ladies in the cafeteria after that because we're just all having sex. How dare we do such a thing?
In the world.
I think you also have to, I think like if you're listening to this with no context, that story is funny. Like, oh, the adults at the camp overheard some of the worship band talking and thinking that they're inappropriately having sex. That's just funny in itself. But
Right.
the lunch staff at the camp we were at was really something. Yeah, like what's the lady in Monsters Inc? Mike Wazowski.
It's Roz.
Yeah. It gave a lot of Roz mixed with like Incredible Hulk. Do you feel what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It was kind of like this just really God bless him. I love him, man. I was all about that kitchen parade we had in camp. But I'm just saying her story is even funnier if you know the audacity of the lunch staff. So that's hilarious. I love that.
For real.
Love it.
Wow.
Oh man. What do we got next?
We have another story.
We do. Yep. I think it is. I know we've got one from one of our friends. I think she says her name, but I know we've got keyboard warriors, I think. And yeah.
We do.
Keyboard warriors for Christ. So I'm excited because this week's keyboard warrior did not type it out. And I feel like every week they're getting different. Like they're not behind the keyboard anymore because I think they think we're going to use it. So they don't type it anymore. They just say it or hold it or tell it, So this one was one that got messaged to me personally. No, it didn't. It got messaged to our podcast, Facebook. Okay.
That's right.
And they said, I recently asked who the new youth pastor was at Chelsea Nazarene, which is the old church I used to serve at that I've told you guys before. My blank, because I don't want to say who this was, but it was in her family. My family member said that she didn't know, but that Chelsea, me, was posting online things that weren't appropriate to be putting online for a pastor.
Where do you think you were so inappropriate, Chelsea?
Now, here's what I will say. First of all, I quit. Okay. And my boss at the time was really like almost encouraging me to stay and kind of work through some of the affirming theology that I was having. But I knew out of respect for him and his church and my people, right? My community that I had built, I needed to walk away. Right. But at that point, I never put anything on Facebook that would have ever hindered the walk of anybody, let alone would have hindered the Nazarene people on my Facebook, because I was also the NY president. So like I had enough leadership to not be posting like whack stuff on my social media. But so the warrior this week claims that I did lose my job over posting on Facebook. So
inappropriate things.
Yeah, which is ironic, Brandon, because you did basically did leave a job over a Facebook post. But anyway.
Yeah. Only because I was insubordinate and wouldn't delete it when my pastor asked,
Exactly. Yeah, you're an asshole. Yep, you deserve to get fired. I've heard people say that.
Fall in line, Brandon.
Satan, you bastard. Which is hilarious leading into this next story. Here we go.
Hey, y'all. My name's Amber. I'm the youth pastor, and I saw that you were going to be talking about camp stories, and I couldn't not talk about this one. So I was youth pastor for a very charismatic church, and one summer we were at camp, and I was praying with a student, and they were sharing something with me that was really, really heavy. And all of a sudden, the speaker from the stage was like, I just need everybody, to be quiet. So we're kind of in like this quiet, somber moment. And all of a sudden, you hear somebody hit the metal door on the side of the chapel. And we're all like, okay, like what's going on? All the adults go into safety mode. And then this kid out of nowhere just screams, Satan, you bastard! I don't know if y'all can play this on the podcast because I just said the word bastard. Okay, that's twice now. But it was real hilarious. Still to this day, we share like the group of leaders that I was with. Like we'll text each other occasionally and just be like, "Hey, remember that time?" So love in spiritual moments. Always the funniest stuff happens. So that's my irreverent camp story. So appreciate y'all. Love the podcast. Bye.
That was awesome.
Wait, I really want a segment using Amber's audio, Satan, you bastard. And it's like
Satan,
the worst.
And
it's like the worst thing that happened in our week. How funny would that be?
Right, we could be like, I ordered Chick-fil-A and they forgot. Chick-fil-A sauce. Satan, you
Absolutely.
bastard.
Yeah,
That's
like
what ends on that sentence.
yeah, like that's so funny. And I could find a Satan you bastard moment definitely every week. Like there's no doubt.
Every
I am
week
not
there's something.
shy. Yeah, I'm not
Yep,
shy of Satan bastard moments. You know what I mean?
definitely.
So that's awesome.
Wow.
All right, we ready for the next one?
Send another story. I love this episode format. I don't know how you're feeling. This is kind of
I
fun. Our
I
next
do too.
caller.
Yeah, next on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, first of all, I love your guys' podcast. I'm just not going to put my name out there just because, you know. Anyway, I was listening to your guys talking about like a sneak peek of church camp stories, and I just feel like I had to share something because, oh my gosh, it's insane. Like I talk about it with my old friends that we went to church with all the time just because, like the crap that we all went through, like the emotional manipulation, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But there was this one, well actually, it was pretty much every summer we went, 7th through 12th grade, and I apologize if this is long, I'm really trying to hurry up. 7th through 12th grade, every summer you'd go, and we would get there Monday, and then leave early Friday. And so Wednesday through Thursday, they did like, think about like the Survivor games, and then Amazing Race like mixed into one, and each grade got points based on like their performance and like how they did throughout the challenges and stuff like that. And the reward was that they got to sit front row for freaking emotional manipulation worship night on Thursdays, because the last night is always the cry night when you get like, you're just like, you suck, your sins are never going to be forgiven unless you repent right now. And anyway, I just look back to that and I laugh because it's so hilarious. But I also just want to mention that church camp is like some of the best memories came out of church camp. So like it's like good and bad, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to share that. Also, there was a rule that there was no purpling, which is like blue and pink, obviously. And if we purpled, well, I'd never purpled, but anyway, I'm just rambling now, so you can cut it if you want to. But anyway, we couldn't purple, and we had to be where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be doing what we're supposed to be doing. So anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for just being vulnerable every week, and I look forward to Sundays every day. Okay, bye.
Wow. Well, sorry, we're making it Tuesdays now, so you can't really look forward to Sundays as much. And
Absolutely.
that was good, though.
I love that for two reasons. Number one, if you are, it hit me that if you are, camp probably made people gay, because the reality is your hormones are crazy, and now blue and yellow is not a thing, but you can be with the same gender all you want. So really, I mean, because they're not talking about you can't be with your partner, like you can't be intimate with your partner on the, instead they're saying you can't be a man with a woman, you can't be purple. I just feel like that leaves a lot of freedom for the gays. So maybe that's where a lot of sexuality is developed because, you know, out of convenience. So maybe church
Sure.
camp needs to rethink it.
You know, I do know that there was some word on the street about deep dark blue and dark red or dark pink.
Down the road, there's a liberal church that has different colors. So we got to just figure out what the new. That's so awesome.
I mean, none of the roads over by that camp because it's the whitest community. It's the most conservative community, but yeah, definitely not.
It's hilarious, and I loved that recording. But it's also so sad because you can hear like right off the gate the trauma, even before she said about the church trauma. Right in the beginning, when she was like, you know, immediately bringing up emotional manipulation and things like that. It's like it's so devastating because as funny as these stories are, these are like real students and like real people who were genuinely negatively impacted or severely religiously traumatized by your programming and the places that we, even you and I, Brandon, the places we went wrong as camp directors and leaders. So I just hope that somehow this finds its way in the hands of some camp directors who do hate us, which I know they're out there. But I think it would be of value for people who run camps and people in leadership to just like shut up for a minute and listen to some of these stories, because it really is, it's sad, you know?
And I know there were some camp speakers towards the end of our time there that would start to see the manipulation of that Thursday night emotional preaching and
Definitely.
manipulative preaching, and
Yep.
they would start to give really kind of dry messages
Yep.
out of respect for um
The
for not
exhaustion and
coming. Yes. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I
mean, there were
was
all the dark lights in the candles, and which that sounds a little spooky, satanic now that I think about it. But
definitely
you know,
feels
all
very
the
cultish.
there is definitely that bit of things that we did as youth pastor of like that. Ooh, let's set the mood for this big communion, this
Yeah.
deep unveil everything about like what's been going on to your small group.
And
It's wild
and
too.
honestly, if you are really about spirituality and you are really about Jesus, that night would happen in the very beginning. Because the message of Jesus was community and being vulnerable and like opening up and like,
Yeah.
finding community within the people that you, so you're about to spend a week at camp with complete strangers, just as Jesus spent all these weeks with complete strangers. And you want them to have community and vulnerability, and you want them to kind of like just not knowing, not like, you want them to be willing to have these moments. And it's just odd to me that if you're really about the message of Christ, why in the world you would ever put that at the end of a week where they are just exhausted and more vulnerable to be manipulated. And just, it's just the dumbest. It really, in my mind, it is really not a model of Christ. Genuinely, I think it's
Mm.
really just kind of backwards. But I think a lot of leaders recognize that, like you said, because it's definitely changing. It's definitely
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
what was your worst memory from camp, would you say, speaking of like emotional
Mm.
manipulation and stuff? And that can be as a student or a leader. I didn't go as a student, but I think you did.
I went to the like free camp as a high schooler, but I didn't go to this camp specifically for their summer camp programs. I went to a different one. But honestly, the last day of camp last summer was honestly pretty isolating, because I went down and stayed some of that week because you were still directing the youth camp that week of family camp. But the worst day was that last day of being there, and once you and like Tyler had left, I just felt very like alone. I felt alone because I wasn't a pastor anymore, so I didn't feel like I had, and I didn't have a church home, because of when you're a pastor and you're at these churches and you get let go, or you go separate ways or whatever. It's like you lost your card that tells you have permission to be here.
Yeah, your
And
membership card's revoked.
yeah, and so that was such a lonely night. And I had some friends, and I had some people I could have gone and hung out with. They were busy, for the record, but I remember thinking, I'm no longer a member of this club, and I just can't walk up to every campfire like I used to be able to. And some of these people have been real mad that my view of church has changed. So I know we're not chill like we used to be. So yeah, it was lonely. That was probably my worst time.
I
In a place
remember.
that I have loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember last summer. So last summer, where the week that Brandon is referencing had fallen on a week where just before that I had decided that, due to the bigotry that I was very much witnessing and experiencing, and a lot of bullying coming from the leadership of this one particular church, and I just kept pushing against it and pushing against it and pushing against it, because it would come up in conversations with leadership, because they would complain about me often to our district leadership about my, liberal viewpoint of the world, and how I was going to taint the kids and stuff, whatever, and whatever else they wanted to say. And so I kept having to defend myself. And finally I'm like, dude, I'm done defending myself. Like I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted of having to always defend my personhood for this one church that just won't let it go, that won't leave me alone. And so I had resigned over that situation. And so that camp I knew was my last. And I felt like the leadership at the time was handling the situation so poorly, was handling my leaving, like not only the situation with the bullying and like that incident and some of those incidences that were being shared. He was handling that terribly at the time, because and we've learned a lot since, right? But I'm going to be honest. Okay. I mean, I love him and we've reconciled now, and I think he's amazing. But at the time, shit was hitting the fan and he was doing some dumb stuff. And in the effort of staying popular as he could, and remaining loved, he chose not to really honor me at all. And at this point I had served, almost 10 years. Well, not, it was actually I think 9 that summer, but 10 in the Nazarene church. And I had spent every one of those years in leadership at NYI in some capacity. I wasn't just another youth pastor on the district. I mean, I had done tons of stuff. And so it was just devastating to me, the lack of care and compassion and empathy, all really so you could save face and look good. And it was devastating. It was really devastating. And so you felt lonely, and I didn't think that was going to be mine. I was actually going to share a letter from a parent that was the most homophobic, disgusting shit I've ever received in my life. And that was my worst day of camp for sure.
And racist.
And racist. Oh, super racist. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Super racist, super homophobic. And it messed me up bad. And I don't think at that point I was out to anybody. So nobody knew, I don't think. I'm 90% sure when that letter came in. And so they knew how horrible it was, but none of my leadership around me knew that I was reading that as a bisexual woman. I wasn't reading that as a camp pastor. Well, I was. And the NYI president, I was reading it also as somebody who was completely being, inebriated in this letter, that was just gut wrenching. But the loneliness you spoke about last year, yeah, I mean, it was dark, unbelievably dark.
Yeah, it was tough too, because there were people that I watched all week that were friends of mine
and mine
be rough to you. And I think that's where it's like, normally I would have popped a squat at your fire. I don't think so. So just because it leaves you feeling like, are you for real? The cold shoulder.
Yep.
Because I was around you. But when I was alone, I never got that cold shoulder.
Well, and I think
until a couple months later, then
you got froze the fuck out. You didn't get a cold shoulder. You got removed.
Yeah. That's true.
I think I was really grateful though, because at that point, I think I almost sounded dramatic. Like, I'm like, they're ignoring me. They're treating me like shit. They're glaring at me. He just literally blatantly ignored me to my face. And you're kind of hearing this and you're like, okay. I mean, maybe you weren't. It just felt like I would think that if it was, roles were reversed, it's like, okay, really? But you got to witness firsthand, like, how horrible people really were treating me. And then you started to get the red letter A on your jacket for being with me. And as devastating as that was, I was so thankful that you could have empathy because you literally were living it. And so I was grateful. But
I tell you what, though, like, maybe some people will say I'm asking for attention or anything or something like that. Like, I'm putting myself in spotlights I shouldn't be. But all of the worst experiences I've had with people are always when I decide to link arms with people. So whether that's I attended a Black Lives Matter rally, I advocated for homeless, I rode on a golf cart with you. Like, it's any time, and it's any time I've decided to say I've decided to put my name with somebody else's that has been hurt. That's when people get just
It,
insane to me.
it's when you step out of the main storyline and start crawling into the margins. And all of
Yep.
a sudden people are like, you can eat shit. And you're like, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. I'm getting closer to Christ, but farther from
Yep.
community. How the hell does that happen?
And joke's on you, because the way that you treat me tells me I'm just gonna dive the fuck in. Like, if
That's right.
if that's what it is,
Yeah,
then
that's
I'm gonna
right.
go to 10 Black Lives Matter rallies. If
That's
that's
right.
what it is, we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
Pride flag on the back of my car. What are we talking about? Like,
Yeah, it's easy. You make it easy. Yep. On the same topic of last summer, you know, a lot of the events that led us to kind of the loneliness that occurred from the fallout and a lot of this devastation came from an event that had occurred the year before, which I never
Yeah.
really intended to talk about on this podcast, but we let people call, and this was one of the calls.
Hey, dropouts. I'm not going to name myself, but I did want to leave a little message about one memory that I had about camp. A couple years ago, this is like the last camp we were all at together, when my absolute favorite person, Courtney Gill, preached about love and acceptance in the church. And there was an uproar about what she was preaching about. Parents came because students evidently were going back and telling their parents that she told us all to be gay and she told us to love everyone, like, and be gay, basically. Like, so all these parents came. There was like a walkout, which was incredibly, like, I felt like secondhand embarrassment. I was like, that was just so dumb. Like, how could you do that to somebody? Like, and Courtney totally kept going, kept sharing her love like she always does. And yeah, like, I know how, like, emotionally draining that was for me. And being there and hearing, like, even some of my friends and, like, my boyfriend at the time saying stuff about, like, all of this, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she said that. And I was just like, it's not a big deal. She's literally just telling us all to love everyone because that is exactly how Jesus would be. And yeah, like, people totally had problems about that. And I just think that was so horrible. And I totally, like, sympathize and empathize with, like, dropping out, and that's how I am now. So I just wanted to share that campy story. I love you guys. Yeah, thanks.
she told everyone to be gay.
Yeah, you know, when a preacher says everyone should be gay, it's like either everyone needs to be gay or get the hell out. You know, that's all it is. I don't know. That's how I feel. So, you know, it's so funny because this ended up, you know, coming up years later. You know, it ended up coming up. You know, it was 2 years ago. Or not this summer, but last summer, and it got brought up recently, and it started this huge uproar, the most division I've probably ever seen in my time in the Nazarene Church on my district, and it caused just this insane turmoil because, you know, once again, the doctrine of that camp was being brought up, and I will say that as a leader, you know, I wasn't blind. You know, Courtney and I, who was the speaker of that camp, had several conversations about what she was preaching. I mean, this was our first camp since COVID. So we wanted this camp to be edifying and exciting and hope filled. And we just wanted that energy of Jesus just flowing in that room. If you want hellfire and brimstone, trust me, baby, that's going to happen at your church when you go back home, right? Like, you're going to get that somewhere. But here, you know, we're coming off of COVID. We just want you to leave this place feeling cherished, loved, and having this hope. And I remember her sharing this Red Rover story where she said often in the church, because this was the night in question, right? Mm-hmm. She said often in the church, we play this game of Red Rover where we say, come over, come over, come over. And then they come over and they're gay and we're like, bye. And then they come over and they're disabled and we're like, bye. They come over and they're not wealthy, right? They're very poor. And we say, all right, bye. Maybe they're homeless, we say bye. So she gives, 10 different examples. But one of the examples that she named in the Red Rover analogy was a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And I remember crying that night because I thought that was the most beautiful illustration and the most beautiful sermon that every single person in that room could relate to. You know, because we all have somebody we don't want to invite, whether we want to admit it or not. And I just remember in that moment thinking like, I needed this. They needed this. Like all of us needed this. And within an hour from that camp, my phone just started blowing up. And I was actually on the golf cart with Courtney, and I'm just ding, 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 ding. And Brandon, you were at Cedar Point, I think, with Jackie's family. I'm almost positive. I was so upset.
Yes.
I was so sad. And because you couldn't be there, I was so upset. And I'm just getting all these messages of these parents that are in this weird uproar about the speaker saying that being gay is okay. And I just remember just reading all of these and trying to navigate what the hell was going on, because I just sat through this whole sermon, and out of this beautiful message comes this ridiculous gossip and propaganda, and I just can't figure out how they got there. And it was devastating. It was devastating.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, you know about the fallout from that, because that's one of the events.
It continues to be a conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It still gets brought up.
Yep.
So it's just sad. But that story did remind me. I wondered if you wanted to read this, Brandon. I think I sent it to you. We got a Facebook message. And I just thought that was so awesome. And then I can play the voicemail from we have another voicemail that I can share after that.
We just got this Facebook message that said, I just wanted to say that I listened to episode 5 this past weekend and I loved it so much. This is the one, right, Chelsea? They said, I loved all the episodes so far. I especially love the way y'all honor, celebrate, and provide an intentional, safe space for the queer community. I'm no longer a part of the church family I spent decades being formed in, largely due to their bigoted hatred towards the LGBTQ plus community, among many other issues. As a former worship leader, youth leader, and ministry school student who has since been on a somewhat isolating deconstruction journey, your podcast has been a glimmer of beauty, hope, community, and joy for me. Thank you again. Heart emoji.
It was the heart emoji that got me.
That was a great comment. That's really encouraging.
Literally was so. I love that they had all these roles. They went to ministry school. Or
something like that.
Studied ministry. They were in Sunday school.
Youth leader, worship leader.
To leave all of that behind, that's a huge deal. Like that kind of pain and that kind of. So it's amazing that we can meet you in that space. Like it's an honor. It's just such an honor. We're learning things every day. You know, we love to be students. So this lesson today is taught by Professor Cody.
Brandon and Chelsea, this is Cody, your gay brother. I'm calling because I'm halfway through your Stay Campy episode, which is phenomenal. I'm loving it, but I also have realized through listening to this that your gay brother needs to do a better job of educating you on gay terminology. I thought the title Stay Campy was a pun because camp and campy is actually, I guess you would say, gay slang. For instance, a couple of years ago at the Met Gala, the theme was camp. And camp in gay terms means over the top, exaggerated, and dramatic. And so I thought that you guys were, but I'm realizing with listening to this that we are not on the same page. But I just think it's...
Oh gosh, the things you learn when you have a podcast.
Never knew.
And the best part is he goes on, which I just know we're running long, so I couldn't finish that. But he goes on to say, to give an example which is just hysterical. So yeah, well, maybe we'll play that if we need it, coming up.
Yeah, and to that we say, stay campy, everyone. Thanks.
I'm so dead. No, that's awesome. I'm just
In the gay brother, in the best gay brother of ways, we say stay campy.
Yeah, and I want to say that we're gonna, as we end episode 9, it's
Oh, yeah,
exciting
yeah.
because that means we're going into episode 10, which I just think is so cool to make it to that first 10 episodes. So we're really excited, and we are like at this point 99% sure. So you can DM us that we will be recording our 10th episode at the campground, at our campground that you guys know. If you know, you know. And if you'd like to meet us there and hang out with us while we record, maybe make a s'more with us, we would love to have you. So send us a message if you're going to be out there, and if you want to link up with us when we record, and we'll kind of let you know the details that we would never share, with the world in this type of platform. But
yeah,
and then I wondered,
family camp at the EMD
yeah,
family camp week, which is July 24th through the 28th.
Yep. And we're going to be talking about, it's really the anniversary. It's the anniversary for me, 1 year, and Brandon, I think you were pretty close. I mean, as far as credentials went.
Yeah. No, I would have given them up prior to that, but but still, yeah.
So we're kind of going to just honor the space that is our year 10th episode, like kind of recap of the feelings we have being out of the church now. Like what are 5 or 10 things that we feel now that we're on the other side, and why we feel those things. And so, and we're taking stories from you, and how you feel since leaving the church or leaving a denomination or something. So
yeah, are we going to record an episode at this camp meeting?
Yeah. Yep.
That sounds amazing.
Yep. That's the big one.
Are we asking people to bring a gay dish to pass?
Yeah, if your dish isn't gay, get out. That's what we say. So
I'm just saying, if you can't have a rainbow element in there.
Yeah. If you can't make rainbow cookies, get the out, okay?
Yeah.
Okay? No, I'm just, I mean, but do bring a snack. You know what I mean? I'm not going to defer you from, absolutely.
You know what? Maybe, Chelsea, we could coordinate. Maybe the camp has a pride night anyways, and we could just incorporate the campfire on that date.
I got to go. On that note.
Will you reach out to the camp director, see if they have anything going on?
That just really gave me PTSD, which is so funny because for the teen services of family camp this year, if any of you are Nazarene, they're not freaking having services. They have to go to the tabernacle. They have to go to the main services. They don't have anything special for teens in the form of services. And wait, it gets better. Brandon, what is the color and gender of all of the speakers for the entire week of camp?
Drum roll, please.
Brrr.
White male.
And you know what? It's like, I wonder if I still have the text, you guys. I gotta look it up because last year I started getting really odd, like my audacity was getting worse. And I actually, here it is. I literally messaged our DS and said this. I'm going to read this. It's from June 29th of 2022. And then we're going to say, we'll bid you adieu. Hey, sir. Thank you so much for being a part of our NYI. We value you. Quick thought, which you can take or leave. I noticed the family camp speaker lineup, as well as our worship leaders, are all males. I totally get that. And I'm not judging any leadership necessarily, but I just want to echo the concern of wanting to have women up front leading announcements, prayer, etc. As much as we honor our stance on women clergy and remind so many that we deeply value that part of the body, as I know you do. Thank you again for your work and your love of students. So it's just hilarious that I literally sent that message 1 year ago, like almost last week, and we're literally here again. All white males. It's surreal.
Yeah.
Oh. Gotta love it.
Change is slow, Chelsea. Just gotta be patient.
You're right. That's why I patiently said peace up out. I took my time, okay? We love you guys.
We love you all. Stay campy.
Hey fam, thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Religious Dropouts podcast. We hope it gave you a space to breathe, to laugh, and connect. It's our hope that as you journey along with us, that you too might find yourself saying, damn, it feels good to be a dropout. Be sure to check out our show notes for links to anything mentioned in this episode, including ways to connect with us on social media. We'd also love for you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with anyone you know who might want to join our community. You are loved. Have a great week.